Welcome back. All right, so 12 games tonight. The one matinee game, of course, there's already a recap for that on the channel. So if you're looking for that, it's already there. That being said, and of course, there's the playlist for recap videos. So if you're looking for a recap video, there's a playlist. It's all nicely put together. Now, we'll start things off with the Boston Bruins at home against Colorado. 14 in a row. I don't know how far this goes, but 14 and wearing those fantastic reverse retro jerseys. I can't say enough good things about those Bruins jerseys. I really can't. So Francouz versus Ullmark in this one. Early jump for the Avalanche. The shots were 2-0 for Colorado at 4 minutes. Bergeron fires one high, then as the Bruins press, things get pushy after a hold by Ullmark. The Avs press at 7.5 minutes. The Bruins would get a power play. That's killed off. Then there's another Bruins power play, and they score on it. It's Pasternak from Marchand and McAvoy at 13:49. Foodie then had a shot that was held as the Avs try to answer. And then there was a fight between England and Foligno. Foligno scored the takedown on that. The Avs come out of that with a power play. No scoring on that one. And then at 18:51, Frederick scores for Boston from McAvoy and Zacha. So, after one period of play, it is 2-0 for Boston. Second period, DeBrusk scores on a rush. The refs talk. The net may have come off. It may have been a kick, and it's called no goal. It's reviewed, and yeah, it's a kick. So no goal there. But then at 4:48, Pasternak scores from Krejci, so he gets the second goal of the game, and that one counts. Avs get a power play. That was killed off. There was a press by Colorado with 5 minutes left. Nosek draws a penalty shot. That was saved. In the last minute, there's a power play for the Bruins. So that rolls over into the third period where it's killed off. Bruins get another power play. Bergeron's denied from a slot. There's 4-on-4, and then there's a brief 4-on-3, and all of that gets killed off. And then Cogliano scores at 6:32. So that makes it a 3-1 game. But the shots with 8.5 minutes left are 6-2 for Boston. They're suppressing Colorado chances quite well. The Avs press, they're kept to the outside, and then it's Frederick. He scores from Hall and Coyle at 15:32, so that's his second goal of the game. And then 10 seconds later, DeBrusk scores from Forbert and Bergeron and just absolutely wired it. The Avs then get a power play. That's killed off, but at the end of the game, the score's 5-1 for Boston. They go to 20-3 on the season. It's ridiculous. And for the Avs, they're 13-8-1. So again, at home, Boston's just not being challenged. This is weird. Anyways, the shots in this one, 14-13 Colorado in the first, 15-5 Boston in the second, 12-7 Boston in the third. Final shots, 40-26 for the Bruins. Power plays, Colorado 0 for 3, Boston 1 for 5. The hits, 27-24 for Colorado. Francouz saves 35 out of 40, and Ullmark saves 25 out of 26. I also want to assure you, don't worry, I'm not going to be doing a fresh video now that it's a 14-game winning streak. I'm not doing a new video for every time they get another win on their winning streak, because that'd be a little much. Even by my standard, that would be a little much. All right, next up, Montreal in against the Edmonton Oilers. So it was Allen versus Skinner in this one. The shots are 2-1 for the Habs at 4 minutes. Montreal had an excellent first period. It's another one of those games where Montreal has an excellent first period, and then there's problems beyond that. But honestly, Montreal has been very good in first periods recently. The Habs press at 5.5 minutes. Dodonov has a shot that's saved. Ceci fires one wide on a rush. Caulfield's then denied on a rush as well. Habs not giving much space to the Oilers. I think they only had 3 shots at that point. The Oilers press with 5 minutes left, but the Habs, they would press back. They draw themselves a power play, and they score on it. It's Suzuki on the power play from Matheson at 16:37. With 50.3 seconds left in the first period, the Oilers get a power play. So that rolls over into the second period, where Nugent-Hopkins scores at 1:25 from Draisaitl and McDavid. The Oilers then press for the lead. They would also go back to the power play. Becomes a minute and 48 seconds of 5-on-3. So major penalty problems for Montreal at this stage of the game against a team that's pretty darn good on the power play. So there was a 5-minute call on Edmondson. Draisaitl would score during the 5-on-3 from McDavid and Barrie at 6:27. And then, as the major continues, we end up with another minute and 25 seconds of 5-on-3 for Edmonton. The Oilers call a timeout before the 5-on-3. Whatever they discussed, it works. McDavid scores 5-on-3 from Barrie and Hyman at 9:23. And then the Habs kill the 5-on-4. To the Habs' benefit and credit, Dodonov scores from Armia and Kovacevic at 13:26. The Habs get a power play. That becomes a 5-on-3, and they score on the 5-on-3 as well. Jack-I from Slafkovsky at 16:38 before the Oilers killed a 5-on-4. So Montreal did come back and tie this. What is it with all the 5-on-3s right now in the NHL? Either players are taking all kinds of fouls or referees have suddenly decided they're going to make 5-on-3s happen a lot. It seems to be happening a ton in games right now. Last minute, Armia has a chance saved, and then the puck goes the other way, and Nurse scores from Draisaitl and Hyman at 19:55 to put the Edmonton Oilers back in the lead. Crazy second period where they outscore Montreal 4-2. We're going into the third period with the score 4-3 for the Oilers. Shots are 2 apiece at 4 minutes. The Habs press at 5 minutes. They had momentum, but they're being kept to the outside for the most part. The shots, 8-4 for Montreal with 9 minutes left, but then at 14:40, McDavid scores from Draisaitl. So that made it 5-3. The Oilers press with 4 minutes left. The goaltender gets pulled with 2 minutes left. They're unable to generate anything. The final score is 5-3 for the Oilers. They go to 14-11 with the win. Montreal drops to 12-11-1 with the loss. The shots in this one, 8-4 Montreal in the first, 13-12 Montreal in the second, 12-6 Montreal in the third. Yep, they outshot them in every period. Final shots, 33-22 Montreal. The Habs go 2 for 3 on the power play. Edmonton 3 for 5. Hits 32-31 for Montreal, I should say. Allen saved 17 out of 22. Not a great stat line after what a great game he had the night before. And Skinner 30 saves on 33 shots. So Allen goes from a fantastic game against Calgary to a rough night statistically against the Oilers. And we'll see what they do next game. My guess is they're coming into Vancouver next, right? They'll probably play Montembeault. I don't know that it matters. All right, next up, the New Jersey Devils, and I mean that just as a Canuck fan that's going, I don't think it's gonna, because they don't do well against the Oilers or against Montreal, against many teams really right now. So New Jersey and against the Philadelphia Flyers. One of the remarkable things about teams that are off to the kind of first quarter that the New Jersey Devils had and all these wins, eventually you win an ugly one. I present to you the ugly one. It was Schmid versus Hart in this one. Zetterlund has a shot that's held. Konechny had a rush chance that was held as well. Flyers get a power play. There was a post for Hayes. That's killed off. The Flyers press at 6 minutes. The shots are 4 apiece at the half. The Flyers did very well in this one against New Jersey. Flyers press. They're kept to the outside. The Devils get a power play. That's killed off. D'Angelo has a blasted save. There were 7 shot attempts for the New Jersey Devils in the first period. That's it. This is a team that's getting around 40 shots per game. They had 7 shot attempts in the first period, and only 4 of them hit the net. Second period, near miss for Farabee on a rush. Hughes had a rush chance, that's blocked out. Hayes is denied on an end-to-end rush. The shots are 2-0 for the Flyers at 5 minutes. D'Angelo's denied, the next shot was held. And then with the first shot they'd had in over 16 minutes of the game, New Jersey gets the lead. It's Zetterlund from Wood and McLeod at 6:01. So that had to be frustrating for Tortorella, I would imagine. Flyers get a power play, and they score on it. At 7:41, it's Konechny from Noah Cates and Hayes. Devils nearly answer. The Flyers get another power play. McEwen couldn't bury one, but there's a good cycle on that power play. Devils then get a power play after that one was done. Howla has a shot that's saved. The Flyers kill that off. Flyers press with 4.5 minutes left. Good puck pressure, too. So when New Jersey had the puck, Flyers weren't letting them, run away with it. They were taking care of it. Flyers press in the final minute. So coming out of the second period, it's 1-1. And it really feels like Philly's been the better team. Third period at 1:49 on a turnover. Hart not in the net. It's just one of those moments, right? And we've seen that with Hart. It's too bad because he's playing well. But it feels like in every game right now, there's that one moment where whether it's a distraction, in this case it's a turnover behind the net when he was coming out to play the puck. Mercer scores from Wood, probably the easiest goal Mercer's going to get in his career. That's not an empty netter, basically it was. Flyers, though, they do press at 3.5 minutes. Tippett can't bury a rebound, and then on a good press, Hughes makes it 3-1 at 6:56. So New Jersey taking advantage of their opportunities. They're up by 2 goals, even though the Flyers were playing a fantastic game. Absolutely fan, and it was the Flyers announcers I was listening to, so they were kind of beside themselves in this with talks of, the Flyers have played well here. So the Devils press at the half. There's a power play for New Jersey. That's killed off. The Flyers press with 6 minutes left. Eventually, Sedlak puts one through a screen in front. McEwen was providing that screen at 15:12. That makes it 3-2. The Flyers tied it, but goalie interference is the call. So with that call, They would pull the goaltender with 2 minutes and 8 seconds left. Cates is denied. Konechny can't bury one. And at the horn, Lawton was not happy. But regardless of what he wasn't happy about, New Jersey wins this one 3-2 wearing their reverse retros. They're now 24-1 on the season. For Philadelphia, they're 8-12-5 on the season now. Shots in this one favor Philly the entire way. 12-4 in the first, 12-8 in the second, 9-6 in the third. The final shot's 33-18 for Philadelphia. Yeah, New Jersey wins an ugly one. This is good for New Jersey. Power plays 0 for 3 for New Jersey, 1 for 3 for Philly. Hits 32-30 for New Jersey. Schmid saves 31 out of 33. Hart saves 15 out of 18. And the reason I say this is good for New Jersey is because any season before this that this channel's existed, New Jersey loses this game. They won this game. So ugly wins are necessary at times. All right, next up. San Jose in against the Ottawa Senators. So this was a game that had some goal scoring in it. Carlson does not get a goal in this one. This is his 7th game in his career against the Ottawa Senators, and he still does not have a goal against Ottawa. It's Kakkonen versus Forsberg. Good flow early, not a lot of whistles. At 5 minutes, the shots are 3-1 in favor of the Senators. But the Sharks get a power play, and they score on it. It's Hurdle from Barabanov and Meyer at 7:26. The Senators then get a power play. Tkachuk would hit the post, and then they score. It is Tkachuk from Stützle and DeBrincat at 10:25. That tie doesn't last very long. At 11:03, Hurdle scores from Carlson. The Sens would then try to press back, but after one period, it is 2-1 for San Jose. Second period at 5:22, there's a good forecheck, leads to a goal by Claude Giroux. So Senators, good puck pressure, leads to a goal there. Shots are 6-4 for the Sens at 7 minutes. The Sharks get a power play. That's killed off. Then the Senators get a power play and they score. So the Sharks are known for having this really elite penalty kill. Tonight it was struggling, or Ottawa's just realizing we have to start getting some wins. So this one was Stützle on the power play from Batherson and DeBrincat at 16:40. So DeBrincat with a couple of helpers. Sens press for another with 14 seconds left. The Sens go back to the power play. So that rolls over into the third. That power play was killed off, but the Senators would then press. They would draw another power play, and they score on this one. It's Chabot with his 200th point with that goal from Joseph and Giroux at 5:18. And so that's a nice insurance goal to make it 4-2. Senators then go back to the power play. That one was killed off. Sharks would get a power play after that. That was killed off as well. And so, yeah, it's really special teams at this point. We had 2 minutes of 4-on-4 as well. The Sharks press, draws a 4-on-3 power play. Everything gets killed off there. And then Giroux at 15:45 scores from Mott. There's your real insurance. Makes it 5-2, and that would be your final. The Ottawa Senators go to 10-13-1 with the win. For San Jose, they're 8-15-4 with the loss. Ottawa's got to go on a streak. The shots in this one, 14-10 Ottawa in the first, 16-12 Ottawa in the second, 15-9 San Jose in the third. Final shots 39-37 for Ottawa. Power plays San Jose 1 for 4. Ottawa 3 for 5. The hits 25-24 for Ottawa. Kakkonen saves 34 out of 39. Forsberg saves 35 out of 37. So there you go. Now I need to change boards. All right, so St. Louis and Pittsburgh. This is a game that's noteworthy for a couple of reasons. First off, it's Francouz versus Jarry. It's not Francouz. This is Binnington versus Jarry. See, so before the games, I actually put all the goaltenders up there, put up the wrong one. Give me 1 second. Yeah, Francouz wasn't doing double duty. All right, so Binnington versus Jarry in this one. Early hold on a shot by Crosby. Rust nearly buries on a turnover. The shots are 3-0 for the Penguins at 4.5 minutes. Penguins would get a power play. It's killed, but 2 seconds after it ends, Pittsburgh scores. It's Kapanen versus Joseph and Rust at 6:58. Two of those players, really important that they start to get things going. Rust especially. I've been talking about him a lot lately. 5 goals, 5 assists. He's been stuck on for weeks. Kapanen, there's been a lot of discussion about how disappointed they've been with his production and whether or not he's going to stick around. Well, both of them are in part combining on that goal there. Tarasenko nearly answers, but on a turnover behind the net, Rust puts it in at 11:59. Blues press to answer, and they would get one. Buchnevich from Leddy and Parayko at 12:47. The Penguins, though, they would get a power play, and they would score on it. It's Kapanen on the power play from Malkin and Carter at 16:55, and that was with 1 second left on the power play. So again, this is a team that needs the whole 2 minutes, and that's just fine. They're getting the goals. Shen fires one wide on a 3-on-2. Zucker, got a glove in the face from Binnington as he's going around the net. So Binnington put his glove out. So initially they gave 4 minutes for a high stick because Zucker was bleeding on that and he was hurt. And then they looked at it on the replay and they just went, no call. Really? At the very least, I thought it should have been roughing by Binnington or interference by Binnington or unsportsmanlike conduct. I mean, there's 3 different things right there. Just off the top of my head, they could have called on him. But we'll discuss this. So, second period, Tarasenko has a chance that's saved, and then Zucker would score. He scores from Malkin and Rust at 151. It's 4-1. So he's already mad. Binnington's already ticked off, right? So now he's getting pulled out of the game, and he gets a 10-minute misconduct for inciting. So basically just riling up the team that's already destroying your team 4-1. Since the game, Craig Berube has come out and said, just play goal, stop the puck. He is fed up with Binnington's theatrics, with Binnington. I'm guessing that the glove to the face on Zucker probably didn't make him happy either, because you're just ticking off a team that's already beaten you guys 3-1. Like, this is something that I've always said, that I get mad at players who fire up the other team. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, I understand you're mad, but don't make the other team better. So that happens. So now we've got Grace in net. The Blues press at 4 minutes. The Penguins would press at 8, and they would score. Actually, the other way. The Blues score on a breakaway. The Pens had pressure, and then the turnover happens. The Blues score. It's Tarasenko from Thomas and Parayko at 8:22. The Penguins then get a power play, and they score on it. It's Kapanen. So here come the Hats. It's tipped in close to. It was a nice goal. Rust with an assist, so Rust's on the board a bunch. Zucker with the other assist at 10:20. So that makes it 5-2 after 2. Third period, Blues get a power play. That was killed off. The Penguins would get a power play. Walker with a net drive. That was defended. He ended up knocking down Jari, but Jari was okay. Blues press. That draws them a power play. That was killed off. They would pull the goaltender because why not? And that allows Crosby to hit the empty net from Gensel at 15-12. Your final in this one is 6-2. So the Blues drop to 11-13 on the season. For the Penguins, they improved their record too. 1 sec. 13-8-4. I didn't update on there. 13-8-4 is the record for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So yeah, really the Binnington thing is the story, and that's what distracted me from all the other stuff, because this could potentially be a sign that there's an issue between coach and goaltender. And then the question becomes one of, if you're a Blues fan, whose side do you take in this, Berube's or Binnington's? Because again, Binnington's been known for having a hot temper for years now, and it just feels like this year it's been costing them more than it's been helping them. So, at any rate, we'll move along to the next game. Toronto in against Tampa, and this was everything that you could have hoped for, really. It was Murray versus Vasilevsky. They had a nice ceremony before the game for Stamkos' 1,000th point. There's a good back and forth early. The Bolts get a power play. Point has a shot that deflects out, and the power play's killed off. The shots are 7-4 for Tampa at 9.5 minutes. The Leafs press at the half. They would get a power play. That was killed off. The Leafs go back to the power play. Matthews and Tavares are both denied during that power play, and Vasilevsky holds. Martyr to Tavares, near miss there. That was killed off. Murray then denies Perry on a breakaway. 54.6 seconds left. The Bolts get a power play. Stamkos blasts one wide. The Leafs clear it out. It's scoreless after 1. Second period. Leafs finish the kill. Nylander has a rush chance that's saved. Some pushing after that. Power play for the Leafs. That's killed off. The Leafs then get a power play. No, the Bolts had a power play. And so what happens is you got 8 games going on at once, right? This is a shorthanded goal. This is Marner shorthanded from Kampf at 5:18. And then the Leafs kill the rest. So the power play backfires. Marner now with a 19-game point streak. This passes Sittler, and it passes Olczyk. He now has a record to himself. But Tampa Bay answers. Nemesnikov with his first of the season from Cirelli and Chernak at 7:40. Buries it from the slot. And there's Anthony Cirelli on the board in his first game back from injury. Shots are 14-6 for the Leafs with 8 minutes left. The Bolts score, but it's offside. Nylander then, 22 seconds after that goal comes off for Tampa, Nylander scores from Matthews and Bunting at 16:50. It is 2-1 for Toronto. It was a dump, chase, and score. So, dump and chase is a style of play that teams sometimes shy away from. I know with Toronto, there's been seasons where they don't like dump and chase. That Kyle Dubas has said, just hold on to the puck. If you have to bring it back, you bring it back. Dumping it in when you've got guys who are fast enough to forecheck, get that puck back, and get it to the net, it can work really well. Things then get pushy after boarding by Kucherov. So rough looking play there. The Leafs get that power play. That was killed off. The Leafs press after with 11.9 seconds left. We get 2 minutes of 4-on-4. And then it becomes a 4-on-3 before the period's out. So we go to the third period. Giordano would clear it out early. The Bolts set up. Stamkos has a shot that's held. And then at 1:51, as we're getting close to the end of the power play, Kucherov scores from Stamkos and Perry. Bolts press for the lead. They get a power play out of it, and they score on this one. It's Colton from Sergachev and Perry at 4:34. So Perry with a couple of helpers, and suddenly Tampa Bay has a lead of 3-2. Bolts press for another. They get another power play. That was killed off. And then the Leafs get a power play, and Marner. So Marner had the shorthanded goal in the second, gets a power play marker in the third at 11:55, and then the Leafs press for the lead. Tavares scores. The refs talk about it. Was it kicked in? The answer is yes. It was a kicked in puck. It does not count. The Leafs would press with 3 minutes left, but we're headed to overtime. The Leafs controlled early, but it's turned over. I think it was Matthews turned it over at center ice, and Killorn wires it from a distance at 33 seconds, and you could see Murray's body language that he just missed it. So the final score is 4-3 in overtime for Tampa. They go to 15-8-1 with the win. For Toronto, they dropped to 15-5-6 with the loss. The shots in this one, 12-11 Toronto in the first, 19-11 Toronto in the second, 10-8 Tampa in the third, and they get the only shot in overtime. That's the one that matters. Final shots, 39-33 for Toronto. Power plays, the Leafs 1 for 5, Tampa Bay 2 for 6. The hits, 31-20 for Toronto. Murray saves 29 out of 33. Vasilevsky saves 36 out of 39. So even though Murray ends up with a save percentage below 900, he had a good game. Both goaltenders did. It was a very, very close contest. I'm looking forward to the other two contests between these teams as well. So I guarantee the players are looking forward to that too. Next up, Vegas in against Detroit. So as I said with Detroit before they got into this week's games, I thought this week's games would give me a good idea for whether or not Detroit is really, a top 10 team in the league. Hill versus Husso in this one, and at 1:04, a cross ice passing in, Eichel opens the scoring from Stevenson and McNabb. So rough start for Detroit. Pressed by Vegas at 3 minutes. Veleno then fired one wide on a 2-on-1. Shots are 3-1 for Vegas at 6.5 minutes. Raw had a rush chance that's fired wide. The Wings pressed, but they're kept to the outside. Theodore had a net feed. That was picked off. It's 1-0 after the first for Vegas. Second period. Early press by the Wings. Carlson had a shot that was gloved and held. Vegas would get a power play. They would score on it to make it 2-0. At 7:50, it's Marchessault from Theodore and Stone. The Wings then get a power play. They score on theirs. Sundqvist from Kubalik and Larkin at 11:37. So there's Kubalik keeping up that point per game pace. But then before the period's out, Kessel restores the 2-goal lead for Vegas from Raw at 16:32. The Wings would press. They were kept to the outside. It is 3-1 after 2. Third period. Early chances for the Wings. Eichel then had a rush chance that was saved. Suter had a rush chance that was saved. Some good back and forth in the third period. Good flow to this. The Wings pressed at 4.5 minutes. Cotter had a rush that was saved. We got some of those Husso chants from the crowd whenever he made a save in the third period. Vegas presses at the half. 8:36 left. The Wings get a power play. Vegas kills that off. Big kill there by Vegas. Goalie pull with 3:15 left because they were down by 2. They really needed a goal, which means it's 17 minutes. Into the empty net, it's Riley Smith from Kessel and McNabb. So Kessel with a goal and an assist, and your final score is 4-1 for Vegas. They go to 18-7-1 with the win. With the loss, Detroit is now 11-7-5. The shots, 9-6 Detroit in the first, 9-6 Vegas in the second. Both teams had 10 shots in the third. Final shots, 25-25. Power plays, Vegas 1 for 1, Detroit 1 for 3. Hits, 20-19 Vegas. Hill saves 24 out of 25. Husso saves 21 out of 24. And yeah, it looks like Vegas is starting to get back on a roll. And for Detroit, tough time tonight. And with some of the other scores as well, they're going to have to turn it around over the next few games here. All right, next up, the last one on this board is Chicago and the Rangers. So Chicago Blackhawks, this is, of course, the reverse retro, which everybody loves, right? Right? All right. So Mrazek versus Halak in this one. Reese Johnson scores from McCabe and Kachuk at 2:38. And that is only the 5th time this season that Chicago scores first. They're not really known for scoring first. The Rangers try to answer. The Hawks would press at 5.5 minutes. Lafreniere was then denied. Rangers press at 9.5 minutes. Power play for the Hawks. It's killed off. 0 shots recorded by Chicago on the power play. In fact, it was 11 plus minutes of no Blackhawks shots on net at that point. Kreider has a rush chance that's held. The Hawks would get a couple of shots. The shots are 7-4 for the Rangers with 4.5 minutes left. With 1:48 left, the Rangers get a power play, so there's 12 seconds left in that. That rolls over into the second period where that's easily killed off, of course. We then had a fight between Kara and Trouba. Kara remembers that Trouba injured him last year, and so they had a fight there. And hats off for Trouba, answering the bell here. So then Kreider with a near miss on an open net. The Rangers go back to the power play. Things get pushy after a hold by Mrazek. 42 seconds of 4-on-4, and then a Hawks power play would take place. The Hawks then had more than a minute of 5-on-3. Yep, here comes the 5-on-3s. Kane would score during the 5-on-3 from Seth Jones and Domi at 8:37. He buries the rebound there, so that's his 4th of the season. Shorthanded Goudreau rush is broken up, and then during the 5-on-4, Domi just walks in and fires it from Seth Jones and Kane at 9:37. So it's 3-0 Chicago in Madison Square Garden. And I get the feeling New York fans know how bad the record is for Chicago and that they shouldn't be losing to Chicago. So the Rangers get a power play. There was a post for Kreider, and then there was a shorthanded rush that ends it. Taves versus Trouba, so there you go. And Murphy versus Goudreau takes place. The Rangers come out with a power play because there's an instigator in there I think it was Jonathan Taves with the instigator. And on the power play, the Rangers score. It's Zibanejad from Fox and Panarin at 17:51. So Trouba with a couple of fights. He didn't have an assist or a goal, so no Gordie Howe hat trick, but still a couple of fights. So third period, post for Trocheck as the Rangers press. The Hawks would get a power play, and they score on it. It's Radish from Kane and Domi at 4:46. The shots 8.5 minutes into the third period are 3-0 for Chicago. The Rangers needing to win some games, home game against Chicago, and this is a dud. This is an absolute dud. VC's denied. Soderblom was good after he went in. Mrazek ends up coming out. Hopefully Mrazek's okay. Hopefully, right? But with Mrazek, you're always wondering, is he? Is he okay? So, but again, Soderblom was good in relief. So the Rangers press with 5.5 minutes left. They would pull the goalie with 4 minutes left. Panarin would hit the post, and then it's Kreider. 6-on-5 scores from Zibanejad and Panarin at 17:15. So Panarin with a couple of helpers tonight. Rangers call a timeout. They'd pull the goaltender again, but that allows the empty netter. It's Domi from Dickinson and McCabe at 18:46. So for Domi, that's 2 goals to go with an assist. That's a pretty good game for Max Domi. And your final score is 5-2 in favor of the Chicago Blackhawks, who go to 7-12-4 with the win. The Rangers 11-10-5, but at least they were wearing those new blue Liberty jerseys, right? So there's that. So the shots in this one, 10-4 Rangers in the first, 12-8 Rangers in the second, and then 9-6 Chicago in the third. Final shots, 28-21 for the Rangers. Power play, Chicago 3-for-4, Rangers 1-for-4. Hits, 31-30 for the Rangers. Mrazek saved 21 out of 22. Soderblom comes in relief, saves 5 out of 6. Halak saved 16 out of 20. He has 1 win. I think it's 1 win and 5 losses now, and so, yeah, the Rangers are definitely at a point where it feels like there's this tipping point in their season that they've arrived at. We'll see what decision gets made. This is a Rangers team that was supposed to be a playoff team and maybe pretty good playoff team, and right now they look like a miss the playoffs team. So, I need to change boards. All right, board number 3, and we're up to Arizona and Vancouver. And this game, I was convinced Vancouver was losing it. Let's be honest, right? Being completely honest. What's interesting is Brock Besser was supposed to be a healthy scratch. And then Dakota Joshua ends up being out of the game, so Besser ends up being in the game after all. Besser said after the game that he was heartbroken to look at the whiteboard and not see his name as one of the starters for the game, as one of the players who was playing. Because, of course, it was Hockey Fights Cancer. And that's a very, very close to the heart topic for Brock Besser. So I'm glad he got to play, really. You start upsetting players, and that's where fans are going to start saying, maybe the coach should go. Remember last year with Riley Tufte in Dallas, that kind of thing. So Vejmelka versus Martin in this one, the shots are 3-0 for the Canucks at 3 minutes. The Canucks press at 5.5 minutes. There's a net feed by Hayden, near miss for that on that one for Arizona. They would press at 7.5 minutes. McBain has a shot that saved. The Canucks cleared out. Stillman then had a shot that was blocked. The Canucks push, but then Fisher opens the scoring from O'Brien and Valimaki at 11:22. The Canucks get a power play. There was a shorthanded shot for Krause. That was saved. That's killed off. Then there's a delay game call. The Canucks get a power play. So in this game, there were 2 delay game calls and 2 too many men on the ice calls against Arizona. So the power plays are pretty lopsided, but half of those are self-inflicted. Horvat scores on this power play from Pettersson and Hughes at 16:49. So Hughes continues to get more than 1 assist per game. But he needs to start shooting more. I noticed in tonight's game, he's passing up shots he would have taken in previous seasons. Then there's a post for Höglander as the Canucks press for the lead. Horvat's denied. Vejmelka holds. So we go to the second period with it tied at 1. The Coyotes get a power play early, and they score on it. It's Chychrun, who's getting ready to be traded, I would imagine, from Gostisbehere and Michelli at 1:52. And I say that because Chychrun had another good game. Canucks can get a power play. Horvat has a shot kicked aside. That's killed off. Coyotes press at 5 minutes. The shots are 4-3 for Arizona with 9 minutes left. Coyotes press with 8 minutes left. The Canucks scored, but they took a penalty on the play, so would have been Höglander's goal, but Miller takes a penalty there. If Miller didn't commit the foul that caused the penalty, then Höglander wouldn't have scored, so it's not really, that's all Miller's fault. Kind of is, but wouldn't have been a goal without him doing what he did. So, 1:35 of 4-on-4 would then follow. Everything gets killed off there. Krause fires one wide on a rush. Amon scores, but it's after the net got knocked off. The goal didn't count because it was the second attempt on the net. Now, it was Arizona knocks it off, and yes, you can score on a net that's knocked off if the defending team knocks it off, but you can't do it on a rebound. So you can't shoot twice after the net's been knocked off. That's why it didn't count. So there was some confusion on that one. Canucks get a power play. There was a delayed penalty on that call. Pettersson has a shot that's blocked. We then had 1 minute and 19 seconds of 5-on-3, and it was so much overpassing. And this is where it's really apparent to me that Hughes doesn't have confidence in his shot right now. And I don't know how much confidence a lot of the Canucks have in their shot right now because there was a lot of overpassing. And so it's killed off. Eventually, they would hand the puck to the Coyotes. They cleared out, and it's killed off. So we go to the third period with Arizona up 2-1. Gostisbehere has a shot that saved the Canucks clear. That's the only shot in the first 3 minutes of the period. So again, not really feeling a lot of optimism here. Chychrun has a shot that's held. OEL gets hurt, so we get some pushing on the play there. Hopefully OEL's all right. Höglander has a rush chance that's saved, and then Besser. It's post and in. Pettersson with the assist at 11:48 ties the game. So awesome to see Besser get on the board. That's his 4th of the year. Coyotes get a power play. It then becomes 3 seconds of 4-on-4 before it's the Canucks power play, but that's all killed off. Then we go to overtime, and I thought we were going to get a shootout here. Canucks controlled early. Teams then exchanged turnovers. Bukestad couldn't bury one on a net drive. Besser was then denied on a fast break of his own, but then there's too many Coyotes on the ice. And they would have got away with it, but the guy coming on the ice actually touched the stick of Elias Pettersson, and they're going to call that every time. So the Canucks call a timeout before the power play, and whatever they discussed worked. At 4:09, it's Horvat on the power play with a nice tip in front. Hughes and Miller with the assists. So your final score is 3-2 in overtime for Vancouver. They win wearing their Johnny Canuck throwbacks. 10-12-3 is their record for Arizona. 7-11-4 as their road trip continues. But hey, they got a point out of it. So Arizona's got to be pretty happy with how this road trip's gone thus far. The shots, 12-9 Vancouver in the first, 7-6 Vancouver in the second. Both teams had 8 shots in the third period, and Vancouver outshoots Arizona 5-0 in the overtime. Final shots, 32-23 for the Canucks. Power plays, Arizona 1 for 3, Vancouver 2 for 8. Again, 2 of those, too many men on the ice, 2 of them puck over the glass. Hits 25-13 for Vancouver. Vejmelka saves 29 out of 32, and Martin saved 21 out of 23. So Vancouver survives this one. We'll see how many more they survive and if they can dig their way out of this mess and get back into a playoff hunt. I'm not sure on that one. All right, next up. Florida in against Seattle. So Florida decided, well, I don't think Seattle needs to have more than 7 wins in a row. For Seattle, they're going to have to start a new winning streak the next time out. So it was Knight versus Grubauer in this one. Reinhart nearly gets one. The shots are 4-0 for the Panthers at 3 minutes. Gudas gets shaken up and exits. He would not be back. Then there's a rush chance that deflects out for the, I think it's Burakovsky on that one. Sprong at a net feed, near miss there. The Panthers press at 7.5 minutes. There was a 3-on-1 then for the Panthers. That was broken up. Donato misses wide on a 3-on-1. The shots even up. Seattle's been pushing. The Panthers score. There was a goalie interference challenge. Initially, I thought this was coming back, but the contact with the goaltender's outside the crease. So because the contact with the goaltender's outside the crease, the attacking player, has every right to be on that ice too. And so it counts. Verhaeghe from Bennett and Tkachuk at 13 minutes, which means Florida now gets a power play. And they scored on it. It's Verhaeghe on that one from Montour and Tkachuk at 13:26. Verhaeghe buries the rebound. So it's 2-0, both goals from Verhaeghe. Panthers press with 3 minutes left. They go back to the power play. There was a shorthanded rush by Beniers that finished the kill. Yep, Beniers on the penalty kill. He does a little bit of everything. And then Beniers on that same shift couldn't bury one in close. So we go to the second period with it 2-0 Florida. There was an early press by Seattle, and eventually McCann buries a rebound from Eberle at 1:53. Hornquist was down. He got hit by Sprong. He would stay in the game, but this is a game of some walking wounded. There was a lot of that tonight. Seattle presses to tie it. Gord was denied. The Panthers get a power play, and they score on it. It's Tkachuk from Ekblad and Bennett at 5:51. That makes it 3-1. It was a screenshot. It was a good cycle. Kraken get a power play. That was killed off. Sprong's denied as Seattle presses, but after 2 periods, it's 3-1 Florida. Third period. They announced, Hornquist wouldn't return, so Hornquist did leave, and Gudas wouldn't come back either. So Hornquist got hurt, went to the bench, and eventually went back to the locker room. And they were already one player short because of salary cap constraints. So for Florida, they were playing really shorthanded. A lot of guys getting extra time. So Schwartz has a net drive that's defended. Cousins is denied on the rush. But then Heponiemi gets an odd one from Eric Stahl at 7:49. Grubauer had it under his pad, but when he kicked his pad aside, he put the puck in the net himself. It's just one of those ones that can happen. It can happen. It ends up on, whoops reels all over the place, but it happens. Panthers press with 9 minutes left. With 8:14 left, the Panthers get a power play, and they score on it. It's Forsling from Bennett at 13:02. With 4:01 left, Seattle gets a power play. That's killed off, and Florida wins this one 5-1. They go to 12-9-4 with the win. Seattle drops to 15-6-3 with the loss. The shots in this one, 16-15 Florida in the first, 13-2 for Seattle in the second period, and then 10-8 for Florida in the third. Final shots, 36-28 for the Kraken. Power plays, Florida 3 for 4. That's really your difference here. Seattle 0 for 2. Hits 25-19 for Seattle. Spencer Knight was fantastic again. 35 saves on 36 shots. Grubauer 23 saves on 28 shots. So while Bobrovsky's had his issues this year, Spencer Knight's been fantastic. So yeah, I think Spencer Knight's already kind of the starter. We're just not really officially saying it yet, are we? All right, next up. Washington in against Calgary. So Washington has been really up and down lately, and this is a bit of a downbeat, although they had good moments during this game. So it's Kemper versus Vladar. Another game where a goalie wouldn't finish a game. Caps press, they're kept to the outside. Manth is then denied from enclose. The Flames press at 5 minutes. Kadri was denied on a spinorama opportunity. The Caps press at 8.5 minutes. There was a power play for Washington that takes place. There was a shorthanded fast break for Backlund. That was saved. Oshie was then absolutely robbed. That power play is killed off, and Vladar holds shortly thereafter. Dan Vladar with another very good game. Toffoli has a rush chance that's saved, but then Coleman wires one top shelf to put the Flames ahead from Ruzicka and Backlund at 18:03. With 1:33 left, the Caps get a power play, and they score on it. It's Connor Sherry from Kuznetsov in 1926. So it's 1-1 after one. I forgot to mention Seattle's wearing the reverse retros tonight because Calgary is wearing their fantastic reverse retros as well. So second period. Early in the period, Mangiapane, who has started to get the puck to go in the net, at 1:35 scores from Backlund and Ruzicka. And all three of those guys had a very good game. Flames look for another. In fact, the shots are 4-2 in their favor 6 minutes in. Gustafsson has a net feed, near miss there. Fev then had his shoulder hurt on a hit from Lucic. That didn't look good. It looked like a shoulder separation to me. Just from the way he was carrying his arm, it looked like he had done some damage to the shoulder. If Fev is going to be out for a while, I would imagine Caps fans are not impressed with that because you're waiting for guys to come back, and now somebody else gets hurt. This is why when people say, hey, when our team gets healthy, you just wait. sometimes it doesn't work out that way. It was that way with Vegas last year. Every time they get one guy back, somebody else would get hurt. So the Flames, or Mantha misses wide on a net drive. The Flames press with 8 minutes left. They would get a power play. Lindholm couldn't bury one. The Caps do kill that off. Flames pressed after it ends. Alexiev then had a net feed that was blocked out. But after 2 periods, it's 2-1 in favor of the Calgary Flames. Kemper and Fehervary wouldn't return. Yeah, Kemper got knocked out during that second period as well. So now you've got Lindgren in the net. And this is where things get kind of interesting. Strome has a shot that's blockered aside. Anderson has a shot that's held. Kadri fires one wide from the slot. The Caps get a power play. That was killed off. Lucic is denied on a 2-on-1. He hasn't scored a goal in 45 games. So for Lucic, a guy who last year he was getting goals 5-hole. Just everything seemed to be 5-hole. I guess goaltenders learned. He just throws it along the ice. Cool, I can keep my stick down. So Backlund fires one high on a rush, but then Ruzicka got a break. And it was a fantastic pass by Backlund that sent him in. Coleman with the secondary assist at 13:39. And then on a rush opportunity, Mangiapane scores from Dubé and Kadri at 14:34. So that makes it 4-1 with 3:19 left. The Flames get a power play that's killed off. And shortly after the Caps killed it off, they scored. It's Carlson from Eller and Strome at 18:54. John Carlson's on a bit of a scoring binge, goal-scoring wise. I think he's got 6 goals in the last 9 games, something like that. So he fired that one home on a rush, so they pulled the goaltender. They're only down by 2, but Lindholm with 4 seconds left scores from Toffoli and Tanev into the empty net. Your final score is 5-2. Calgary goes to 11-10-3. I think they have a good record with those reverse retros on too. For the Caps, 10-12-4 on the season, and now you got Kemper out, you got Fehervary out, and this is a team that already leads the league in man games lost to injury, and it's just going to get worse. So the shots in this one, 15-14 Washington in the first, 14-5 Calgary in the second, 9-8 Washington in the third. Final shots, 36-29 for Calgary. Power plays, 1-for-4 for Washington, 0-for-3 for Calgary. Hits, 24-22 for Washington. Kemper saves 24-26 before he leaves the game hurt. Lindgren saved 7 out of 9 in relief. Vladar saved 27 out of 29. So again, Dan Vladar, his stats just keep getting better, and he might be the better of the 2 goaltenders right now, which, who saw that coming? All right, next up, last up, is Carolina in against the LA Kings. I think the Canes are getting their game back, and I think they're starting to get those goals that we've been waiting for this season. So it's Kochetkov versus Quick. Boy, is Kochetkov making things difficult for Canes management. When the day comes that Freddie Anderson's ready, what do you do? Do you really send Kochetkov down to the minors? So the shots are 4-1 for the Canes at 2.5 minutes. They would open the scoring. It was Shea from Martinook at 4:01. The Kings then press for an answer. Kaliev's denied as the Kings press. The Canes would then press with 7 minutes left. Near miss on an Anderson-Dolan shot. Fiala has a shot that's tipped wide. The Canes rush the other way. With 1:08 left, the Canes get a power play, and they score on it. It's Natchez from Burns and Nason at 19:41, and they go right back onto the power play. When there's a delayed penalty and you're already on a power play, you still get that next power play. So it's 2-0 in favor of the Canes after 1 period. The Kings would finish the kill on that other power play. Arvidsson fans on one as the Kings are pressing. The shots are 5-3 for Carolina at 4.5 minutes. Shea has a shot that's saved as the Canes press. The Kings get a power play. Kaliev misses a pass. The Canes clear it out. That's killed off. Both teams are turning it over at this point in the game. So Canes control, and they controlled until they went offside during that play. Roy and Walker had been on the ice for more than 2 minutes, so they had the Kings pinned down pretty good. Kings press with 6 minutes left, but then the puck goes the other way and it goes in the net. Aho from Natchez and Jarvis at 14:11. So that's a tough one for the Kings because they were pressing, looking to make it a 1-goal game, and suddenly it's 3-0 at the other end. Shots are 12-9 for the Canes with 5.5 minutes left. They would get a power play. That lasted 12 seconds before it became a 4-on-4. So everything gets killed off there. We go to the third period. Shots are 2 apiece at 5 minutes in this one. Kings get a power play. That's killed off. They would get another power play with 11 minutes left. And at 9:31, Kaliev scores during that power play to give the Kings a little bit of hope. 3-1 at that stage. The Canes try to answer. Jarvis is denied. Doughty had a blast that was held. Arvidsson was then denied as the Kings press. But then Svechnikov puts one in off Doughty's skate. And so that made it 4-1. from Burns and Pesci at 12-10. Drury then has a shot that saved. The Kings ice it. The Kings are now fighting against the reality that they're down by 3 and the Canes aren't giving them much. But then Fagemo scores his first NHL goal from Lizotte and Roy at 17-25. So they pulled the goaltender right on the next faceoff as they're going up the ice. Kempe had a tip shot that was held, but that's about as close as they get. Your final score is 4-2 for the Canes, who go to 14-6-5 with the win. The Kings 13-10-4 with the loss. The shots in this one: 10-6 Carolina in the first, 15-14 Carolina in the second, 13-6 LA in the third. Final shots 33-31 for the Kings. Power plays: Carolina 1 for 3, the Kings 1 for 4. The hits: 24-19 LA. Kochetkov saved 31 out of 33, and Quick saved 27 out of 31. So there you go. We're all done for tonight. Another busy Saturday night. Apologies for the errors in the St. Louis-Pittsburgh. But hey, these things happen, right? Humanity and all that, and being human. All right, so there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.